Welcome to the NerdCast. But before we get started on our regional projections, we're going to talk about the 16 hosts that were announced tonight. Get our reaction to the field and the half of the field going to one conference, which was sort of a surprise for, I guess, the majority of the world. Guys, I guess just I'll throw it to you. Just kind of first reactions to, you know, all of all everything that's happened today, heading with the 16 host sites. What were your biggest takeaways?
I think the biggest thing for me is, I think one of the teams we discussed the most over the last couple of weeks was, Indiana State. It was a very unique case in the sense that, Indiana State, 1-4 against top 25. They were 2-9 against top 50. Typically, those kind of metrics would disqualify you from hosting. But the biggest thing with the committee right now is from talking to members over the last couple of weeks, is the big thing for them is intent to schedule and your non-conference strength of schedule. And when you look at Indiana State, number 9 RPI, 33 overall SOS, 5 non-conference strength of schedule, and 23-8 road record. When you have those different those kind of metrics, you look at Indiana State and go, if Indiana State's not going to host in that situation with that kind of RPI, with that kind of non-conference strength of schedule, you're essentially telling mid-majors like that they're probably never going to host. And so I think that's one of the big reasons why they did it. And let's be like transparent here. I tweeted this out earlier, but there is an element of this that is politics, right? And let's face it, Sherrod Cleanscales, their AD, is on the committee. So I felt pretty good about Indiana State hosting over the last 2 or 3 days when they went on that run in the Missouri Valley tournament.
Yeah, and it's worth noting. I mean, because hey, and I bring this up every year, so I'm not calling anybody out specifically. It's just that it's a factor every year with people on the committee. If you have representation on the committee, historically, your program or your interests get rewarded, whether it's your conference interests or whatever. And in this year, obviously, John Cohen is the chairman, SEC guy, AD at Auburn. We weren't surprised Auburn got a host. I mean, so they went 17-13 in the SEC. Now they have some other metrics that aren't great. They're actually behind teams like Boston College and Campbell and even Dallas Baptist in the RPI. I mean, Auburn maybe wasn't a slam dunk host, but I mean, we felt like you get to 17 wins in the league, you're probably going to host. But now the South Carolina getting one, again, chairman of the committee is an SEC guy. You've got another guy on the committee whose son plays at South Carolina, although he used to play at Southern Miss. But these are factors. I mean, these are humans on this thing, and there is lobbying, and they would deny it to their graves. But come on. I mean, I'm not interested in buying your bridge. Okay. I know how the freaking thing works. It is what it is. They're telling me, oh yeah, we're going to leave the room every time they talk. I had nothing to do with Indiana. I didn't talk to any outside conversation with anyone about it. Give me a break. All that said, I mean, Indiana State, like Kendall said, I mean, if you're top 10 in the RPI, you have a number 5 non-conference schedule. You win your regular season and your conference tournament. To me, that was important. They paired those two things. Now, Missouri Valley is not a great league. 2-9 against top 50 for me is an eyesore. I mean, like personally, if I were checking the field, I probably would have had them behind teams like Campbell and Boston College that had more quality wins. But we were projecting and we said, well, given this combination of pluses that they have, they're probably going to host. And that was accurate. But South Carolina was a little bit of a surprise, guys. And again, you can certainly make a case for them. I mean, it's number 8 RPI, 20-18, I think it is, or maybe now it's 18-15, just 18-15 top 50. But it's the best argument for South Carolina. They went 8-7 against the likely top 8 national seeds, and that holds some weight. But that said, I mean, they just melted down in the last 5 weeks of the year. They went 4-11 down the stretch. They lost their last 4 conference series. Like, they're not the same team that they were when they were winning all those games earlier. And injuries, you can make an excuse. Certainly injuries are an excuse, but I mean, do we know that they're going to get healthier next week all of a sudden and, flip the switch? I mean, like, they're not the same team that they were 6 weeks ago. And so for me, I mean, when you've got other worthy teams with very strong hosting cases, Campbell, Boston College, Southern Miss, just in particular, those 3 teams. I don't like taking the 8th team out of a league that just fell apart the last month over getting it to one of those other more deserving teams.
All good points. I guess where I fall on this is I was surprised just from an optics standpoint that you get half the teams to one conference. I realize, I mean, obviously you see where the college baseball landscape is heading. Okay, with transfer portal, with NIL, with just the facilities race, with just the resources that the SEC has. This is not going away. This is the new reality, and we all just need to come to grips with it. This is the way things are heading. So if you stick South Carolina in one of these other leagues, I think they're going to do really well there, and they're going to have a really good record. And I think that's the part of this that is difficult for the committee to, I guess, to evaluate. Because you look at a team like Indiana State who went 3-9 against the field of 64, and one of those wins was against the 4 seed Ball State. Okay, so it's not a great metric. So, but then you look at a team like Campbell, who did have a pretty good record against the field. Let's see, what was it again? I'll look it up in a minute.
I know it was 9-5 top 50.
Yeah, it was
It was 8-5 against the field.
Yeah,
as we had it last night.
Really good metrics there.
Yeah,
their league is not good. Okay, so they had to overcome that, and they did that by playing midweek games and pre-conference games against whoever they could find, and they played a lot of road games, which helps your RPI, right? And so I do think that the committee, one, that they're looking really closely at RPI, but two, they're also kind of they're understanding how the RPI is made up with all of these road games. And you're understanding that teams are gaming the RPI to do this. Okay. I hope there's an understanding of that. So that's the part that's kind of fuzzy for me. And I'm eager to ask that question to committee chair John Cohen tomorrow. But I do think that because of the way the landscape is changing from a college baseball perspective, I'm not surprised that the SEC has taken this shift, and it's taken more of the power from other conferences, and I don't think that's a trend. I think that's just the way we are right now.
Yeah, and again, I mean, we had them projected to get 7 hosts, and I think they earned 7 hosts. It's just pushing it. We're going to go 8 now, and I think the 8th isn't deserving, and that it's just
the problem.
A shame.
Yeah, the problem with South Carolina is just how they finished. Right now, how they finished was against some of the best teams in the country. Okay, that you look at the end of their schedule, and I think what was it, of their last 7 series, 6 of them are host, and the other one is Tennessee.
Right, and now to be fair,
that's brutal. Who's going to win against that group?
Well, I mean, one of those is at Kentucky. You got swept. Kentucky lost.
Who's hosting as a
right, but they lost their other 7 series down the stretch, right? I mean, all they do is sweep South Carolina.
But look at their schedule.
Okay, but and then Tennessee at home. You lose a home series there. Auburn at home, home series that you're losing against good teams. But I mean, I'm not buying the murderer's row thing. It's a good.
So you would rather just play just anybody like a Mountain West or Missouri Valley or Big South and just float into the regional top 16.
Well, certainly not. But I mean, if you're Campbell and you play the league that you play in, which is not very good, and you still manage to get a 14 RPI, that's hard to do. And I think they should have been rewarded for it.
Well. Yeah, and obviously we felt that way because that's what we projected. But it is interesting that you're trying to value the strength of a league versus the strength of what you did non-conference and trying to evaluate where teams fit. And it is difficult to compare teams that play drastically different schedules. If you're playing midweek games against the best teams you can find versus having to play a murderer's row of all of these teams in the top 8 or top 12 or top 16, wherever you want to draw the line, it's not the same. And I think that's where the committee, they drew the distinction that, okay, I know what the metrics say and I know how this team finished down the stretch, but we just think this team's better.
Yeah, and that's where I would disagree because right now I don't think South Carolina is better than a lot of teams. I mean, the way that and it's not just because they played good teams. They have not been the same team. I mean, they were sitting pretty, after they beat was it after the Florida series and those 2 games against LSU. I mean, at that point it's like, man, they don't need to do much more and they'd be a
Yeah,
top 8
they
seed,
looked
right?
great, didn't they?
And they just went in the tank. And like, yes,
Mhm.
some of it's quality competition, sure, but like if you're, one of the 16 best teams in the country, I don't think you lose those 4 series in a row.
Yeah. You would hope that they would rebound and yet they've had some injuries, but we said this before. They're not the only team with injuries, man. Just about everybody's had to fight through something this year. So
I
you,
mean,
you would hope that they would
Yeah.
rebound better than they
Yeah,
have.
ask Arkansas about injuries.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
mean, they were 14-5 at that point after this play those 2 games against LSU, 14-5 in the league. And it's like, man, we're gonna cruise to 17, 18, 19 conference
yeah.
wins.
It
And since
looked
that
easy.
point, I mean, they went 2 and what's my math here? What did I say? 14-5. They went 2 and a lot in
Mhm.
SEC play, 2-9 down the
Yeah,
stretch. It's like, ugh.
yeah. And that's the part that, and it'll be fascinating to see what the committee, what they'll share and what we'll have to get through other means just to find out, what was the conversation like when discussing one, having an 8th team, and two, just specifically South Carolina, a team that at midseason everyone agreed, hey, they were one of the top teams in the country, and now we're wondering if they're even going to win a regional game the way they're playing right now.
Right. Yeah, and it's just I think it's worth noting that a lot changes in those last 6 weeks. I mean, at the midseason mark, I mean, if you go back and look at our midseason report, the teams that were in the rankings then, and you had UCLA as like at that point like a
Yeah,
top 12 team. They're not even going to make the field. Like how you finish mattered. You have to finish the deal. You
yeah.
have to finish the deal.
And that's the hard part because all these schedules are so imbalanced. Okay, even within a conference, teams play much different schedules, and that's what makes this evaluation an art and not a science.
Right.
Okay, so we all love to look at the metrics and look at the RPI, but all of this is not created equal. So while you hope that things work out for you, how you finish and like we always had this metric of the last 10 games or the last 15 games or whatever. I don't know that I really like that because of how unbalanced those metrics are. If some team is 10-5 in the last 15 and they played a kind of a sketch schedule versus somebody who played something like South Carolina did, that's much different. And I don't know that I can gain a whole lot from looking at that metric. And that's still part of the criteria, whether we like it or not. It just depends on how much they weight that criteria compared to some of the other things.
Indeed. Kendall, do you have anything else to add here?
I think y'all made great points. I will say one team that did not host it. I've got my eye on the postseason. Southern Miss.
Yeah.
They won the Sun Belt crown. They got up to 21 in the RPI. They were just shy of hosting. But if you dig into Southern Miss's resume, it's pretty impressive. I mean, 23 wins against top 100, 10-5 against top 50, winning road record, 41 wins. Their aggregate Sun Belt records, fantastic. That's a team that we haven't even discussed. That you could have given them a host over all of these teams we're talking about, and that would not have been a wrong decision. So
No,
that's a
I
team
agree.
for me that I think is really dangerous when you look at their their older lineup. Tanner Hall, they're dangerous.
Yeah,
And
he's scary.
And really, Southern Miss would have been probably a great compromise choice between the 2 extremes of South Carolina and Campbell because,
Great point.
I mean,
5th best conference.
yeah, 5th best conference, is a lot better than the 15th best conference
Yeah.
that Campbell is in.
Yeah.
And sure, there were still 7 spots behind Campbell in the RPI. I mean, I still probably would have leaned Campbell over Southern Miss, but it's close, and I wouldn't have any issue if you'd gone with Southern Miss. It's close. I just think South Carolina for me was behind those.
Yeah, I think the committee, when they look at things, RPI from a hosting standpoint, RPI carries the day, which was kind of surprising, with Campbell getting left out in Auburn, he's 19 versus Campbell's 14, kind of took their place.
Well,
But the other just one more thing. The other thing on that is with over the last 10 years, there have only been 2 teams 20 or higher who hosted. Okay, think about that.
Over the last how many years?
10 years, 160 teams, 2 have been 20 or higher.
A&M last year.
A&M and Fullerton.
Interesting.
Okay,
Wow.
so Southern
Before
Miss was
that, it was a lot
21.
more common. You would have like some Pac-12 teams around 30 or something.
10 years.
Well,
I went
yeah,
back and
UCLA
checked.
hosted
Yeah,
at 30 one year.
yeah, but that's been almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
getting old, Kendall.
Gosh.
No. I've got gray hair in my beard.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing with Campbell too, I kind of wonder, and I know this isn't supposed to go into the thinking process, but I almost wonder if like them having to host an hour away from their ballpark kind of hurts them. Like if you have a group of teams that you deem equal,
Yeah.
like wouldn't you kind of reward somebody with an on-campus regional before you're going to go an hour away from Bowie's Creek to Fayetteville? I think
Yeah,
so,
well,
right? Like,
yeah, well, part of the deal should be the experience for the student athlete.
correct.
Okay. So having an on-campus venue with, great fan support and all that should be a big part of this. Because honestly, I don't want to play in empty stadiums. I want to play, where it's energy and excitement. So I don't know how much that should play a factor, but I think it has to play some factor, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, they purport that the point of the exercise is to reward the 16 most deserving teams. I mean, that's what they say every year now. So no, I would say no. To answer your question, like
play in an empty stadium,
unless they want to acknowledge that. Well, I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't be empty. First of all,
I would say, what I would say is a caveat of the 16 most rewarding teams. But if you have 4 teams that you think are equally rewarded, rewarding of a host, to me,
it's
go
like
with
the
the team.
tiebreaker.
Yeah, the tiebreaker would be somebody you're not driving an hour away to Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's non-conference strength of schedule.
Like it's got to be a slam dunk case for me.
Yeah. I will say also that if we're talking about that stuff, I mean, like I think the committee missed an opportunity to grow the game, if you will, and put it regional in the Northeast. I mean, Boston.
I agree.
Boston College.
Yeah, I thought Boston College. I think Boston College should have hosted.
They had a great case. They really did.
Had a great case. It's a new spot. I would have been 100% in on that. Absolutely.
The thing that when I looked at the reason we switched it last night, in fact, when we switched it to Campbell from BC was because, when you looked at the things we really liked about BC early in the year, the things that got them into the top 25, things we were excited about, it was. Okay, they swept Kennesaw State, who was a regional team last year. Kennesaw finished below 500. Tennessee, that was a good win, midweek. And they went to Virginia Tech right after that. And at the time, like reigning ACC champs, like, wow, that's a great road series win. And they go to Florida State, win a road series win. It's like, oh wow, it was
looking
back
great
to back. I mean, and then when those teams fell apart, it hurt BC's hosting case because the rest of the way, I mean, you have 2 nice series wins, one against North Carolina State and one a sweep of North Carolina on the road. Otherwise, I mean, there's kind of a lack of. They didn't get swept, I don't think, except for Louisville. They got swept once by Louisville. But I mean, like the resume didn't quite hold up at the end of the year through no fault of their own. The teams that they beat early just didn't wind up being as good. But that said, I mean, still top 20 RPI, 17 and 15 aggregate in the league. I mean, and had the fact that to go on the road so many times during the year, and when you're in Boston the first 6 weeks of the road of the season, you have to be on the road, and I think that adds this major degree of difficulty. And I would like to have seen them been rewarded and an opportunity to kind of. I think the region of New England would have really gotten excited to have a regional up there, especially if you stuck a UConn and a Northeastern in there and made it an all New England thing. Regional, I think people would have gotten into it.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing too is like Mark mentioned it last night, and was one of the other reasons is like the fact that historically an ACC team with their RPI has to go on a run in the conference tournament to be able to host.
Yeah, and their win total, right?
Yeah,
conference win total. Yeah. There was just a couple of wins shy, either within the regular season or the conference tournament. Yeah. I think if they do either one of those, we're having a different conversation today.
Yep.
Mark, do you think Boston College will host in Quahog?
No, they're in the real field, man. They're in great shape. They're going to play as a 2 somewhere and be a headache for somebody.
Yeah, for sure. They're frisky guys.
Good club.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for the hosting discussion. If we want to transition into part 2 of the show here, unless there's any other burning thoughts for you guys on the hosts.
No, I mean, this is historic, and the most, we hadn't said this yet, but the most we've ever had was 7 from single league. That had happened twice. We had 6 only twice. So this is really historic when you have 8 from one league. So, anyway, that's the new reality apparently.
Yeah, and I'll make it clear, again, I think the committee dropped the ball by giving South Carolina a host, but I don't think it's egregious. It's not, I don't want to, I'm not going to go the warpath about it. Like there's plenty of things about their case that are strong. I mean, the 8-7 against the top 8 seeds in particular. I just think that for me, they would have been behind Campbell, Southern Miss, and Boston College. I would have had them about 19 or 20 in my pecking order personally.
Yeah. They just finished so poorly.
All right. So we know our 16 hosts. I guess the first part of this exercise is let's line them up. And I think for me, I don't know if there's any change to our top 8, but let's look at it from this morning. We had Wake Forest
early.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was about a 2 a.m. conference call.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm feeling the effects of it right now.
Yeah.
You and me both.
A few of those in a row.
Yeah.
It's a long week. Wake Forest, I think number 1, Florida or Arkansas. I think we had Florida. I don't see no reason to make a change there.
Yeah.
I think I still like Florida.
Yep. Arkansas is one spot ahead in the RPI, but I think I'd go Florida too. Clemson, we had 4. After today, I don't see any reason to change that, certainly.
Nope.
No, not at all.
How about that 16 straight wins for Clemson, guys?
Yeah, they can't lose.
Parker Lewis of college baseball.
It almost, I'll be frank, like it almost kind of scares me for them going the postseason when you win that many games in a row. Man,
you'd almost like to drop one just somewhere. Monkey off your back. Yeah,
for real. All right, so then we got LSU and Vandy. Were our next 2 teams this morning. We had LSU then Vandy. Does Vandy's win today change that in your minds?
I don't know. It's pretty close. Just the way LSU has the last 4 weeks has been not great. I mean, they've had 3 1 in 2 weeks and 1 2 in 1 week. It hasn't been vintage LSU.
The conference records: LSU 19-10, Vandy 19-11. But if you add in the SEC tournament, the aggregate, Vandy has the better conference record. 21-14, top 50 for Vandy, 17-12 for LSU. I don't know what the top 25 breakdown looks like. Let's see. I mean, it's I think I actually might lean Vandy here, guys. Is that?
I'm okay with that flip.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we had Virginia.
I still like UVA at 7.
It's Stanford and Virginia would be the next 2. It's just what order do you want them in?
So we had Stanford and Virginia in that order this morning. I think I would leave that.
Just leave it. Okay.
Yeah. So that's our 8.
That's our 8. Coastal had a chance and Louisiana destroyed that. So
I think if they win last night and win today, they got a shot. They got a really good shot.
In Miami's case, in case you're a Miami fan listening to the show, they made a run at it, but I mean, there was it's hard they had to catch Virginia, and Virginia swept them head to head and won the division by a game. And so maybe if Miami had won today, we would have had a discussion about it. I just don't think they quite got there.
And I think they're my 9. They're the next team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Miami next.
And with Coastal. And maybe Oklahoma. Let's see. You got Alabama, Oklahoma State, Kentucky, Auburn. They're kind of all South Carolina, I guess. They're all in a big jumble next.
Yeah. So we had Alabama 11 this morning. Oklahoma State lost. Is that game over yet? It was close.
Yeah, I think I still like that. Alabama, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think I do too. Alabama is clearly the next team out of this SEC group. They're the next team in the pecking order. They did 11 RPI.
They sure look good this weekend. I mean, and every coach, unsolicited, was coming up to brag on how well Alabama was playing, which was kind of odd, but obviously they were impressive.
Yeah, even I had a coach. I wasn't at the SEC tournament. I had an SEC coach the other day say, "Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, I'd much rather draw Auburn than Alabama," which is interesting because Auburn's good too, but Alabama's just people really are afraid of those guys.
Yeah, it's the arms that they can bring coming out of the bullpen that's different. You know, Auburn
Mhm.
Auburn's got a good offense, but they're piecing it together still on the mound.
Yep. Excuse me. So Alabama 11, Oklahoma State 12. Just leave Kentucky 13, Auburn 14. We had it this morning.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know how you put South Carolina ahead of any of those. Kentucky
No.
swept South Carolina. Auburn beat them in Columbia.
Yep.
I think South Carolina has to be after them,
I would agree.
considering those were recent. It's not like that happened in March.
So do you move Indiana State ahead of South Carolina since we had South Carolina like 20 on our
Maybe
pecking
so.
order?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I wouldn't have had Indiana State as a top 16,
Right,
but I felt like the committee would.
Which
So,
I guess our job here is just think what's the committee going to do
I kind of
Right.
like Indiana State being at 16.
at 16. Okay.
Yeah,
the Georgia Southern pick from last year.
exactly.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yep, I'm good with that. All right. So now we know all of our automatic qualifiers. We should probably update the ones that won today. We had Central Connecticut, which was projected. They won. Lipscomb was projected. They won. Turn these
Yeah.
green on your worksheet here.
If you scroll to the right, they're already done.
Oh, look at you, Mark. Man, you're the best. I'm using the wrong column. You could have told me.
Kind of did earlier, but I should have sent a reminder.
Okay. San Jose State beat Air Force. What else do we
they
have
did.
today? What
Yeah,
else do we
So,
have today?
so the
Wilmington
update will
won.
be Central Connecticut, Florida A&M, Tulane, which was a stolen bid, right? They took one from East Carolina, which is going to knock one of these 3 seeds that we'll get to in a minute out
Right.
of the field. Lipscomb won. Let's see, what else today? You mentioned San Jose.
UNC Wilmington.
UNC Wilmington won. Charlotte won. Charlotte will be
That's
a
a stolen
3.
bid.
Yeah, that's another stolen bid. So we're
Charlotte
There's
and
three.
Tulane.
There's three total. Xavier, Tulane, and Charlotte.
And Xavier's kind of one of those
Yeah,
iffy ones because they're kind of they were 43, I believe, in the RPI. I don't know if they would have gotten in. Probably not. But
we had them before they won the automatic bid. I think a couple days ago. It was yesterday they won that game. We had them as one of our last 4 out, or our first 4 out.
Right.
But they were on the bubble though. They were like
Right.
in the conversation.
So with the games they won, they may have played their way in. So we'll decide. But it was so it's either 2 or 3, but certainly Charlotte and Tulane. That's definitely Tulane is a stolen bid.
19 and 40.
Yeah, that was brutal.
40 loss team, guys. I can't get over that one. That's wild.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Found a way.
And while we're talking about just amazing things, how about freaking Samford, who won a triple header yesterday, all elimination games to win the automatic bid in the SoCon? How about that? So stay tuned. I talked to their coach, Tony David. We're going to do a story on that this week. Just everything that they went through to win 3 games. Can't wait to learn all about that good stuff. Yeah.
He's a great interview. I'm sure he got lots of gold.
Yeah, well, we set it up. I'm going to talk to him again, after regionals. But yeah, I can't wait. You're right. He's a phenomenal dude.
All right, so we're adding 2 teams that stole bids here, quote unquote stole bids, because we already had Xavier in this morning because they won yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So Charlotte and Tulane will be added, which means we got to drop 2. So the last 2 teams in this morning were Oklahoma and Louisiana. But I think we should probably take another look at this.
Let's reevaluate. Yep. Because, you have Arizona State, you have
NC State.
NC State, you have Kansas State. If we want to take another look at them, Arizona.
Yep.
Even Notre Dame, maybe. But just
Irvine is okay.
Irvine.
Still,
for me, they were at the top of that group. I like their case. You look at their record versus the field.
Yeah.
And it is much better than these other teams we're talking about. So
all of a sudden, their top 50 takes a hit because Arizona
Mhm.
State drops to 51. So Irvine loses those 3 top 50 wins, so leaving them 0-1 top 50. But I think that's a moot point. I do like them in.
yeah, they're 10-4 versus the field, by the way.
Yeah, I would have them in.
Okay.
And just a couple of versus the field things since I
this
got
is
that
helpful.
handy. So Oklahoma, 14-15 versus the field.
Okay.
Kansas State, 15-16 versus the field.
Oh, that makes it really difficult.
Yep. Arizona, 13-17 versus the field.
Okay.
NC State, 9-17.
Not great.
And Notre Dame, 9-13. And Arizona State, 6-16 versus the field. Now, I did count these bubble teams since, all of the teams I mentioned, I included in that. They won't all make the field, so that number is so skewed. But since we don't know exactly which one of these we're going to keep, I included them.
Yeah.
So
So I'm worried about Arizona State. I will say this, as a team we had in all week, taking another look at it. Now they're outside the top 50.
I would agree with you, Aaron. The other part of this is, how did they break ties last year? Non-conference strength of schedule. Arizona State's 95.
Yeah.
And you look at some of these other teams. Oklahoma's 22. Arizona's 69. Yeah, I mean, it's Irvine 84. I mean, but some of these other teams aren't great either. But it's just kind of one of these things we don't know that this group of committee members will evaluate things just the way last year's did, but there's a lot of the same members on the committee.
Right.
I would suspect there'll be some similarities.
I think you're right. Yeah. So I mean, NC State has that ugly versus the field mark, and they did not win. They did not win a series against an at-large team or a postseason team all year. However, the thing that offsets that for them is the RPI. Yeah. 24 RPI.
It's a big blinking RPI.
It's a big blinky RPI, which to me, given the fact that South Carolina just got a host, tells me this committee is going to lean on the RPI.
And I'm with you there. I kind of think it's NC State and Oklahoma are my two. Just kind of shooting to the end here. Yeah. I think you can talk me out of it, but I think those, based on RPI, based on Oklahoma's non-conference, how they intended to schedule, and also the actual non-conference schedule, I think they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. Now we'll see. I was wrong on the Campbell versus South Carolina. I really didn't think the SEC would get 8, but we'll see where this lands too.
We have a commenter saying, "What about Arizona?" And interesting case, because usually 12 and 18 in the Pac, you're dead.
Yep.
Now the Pac didn't used to have a conference tournament, and so they were able to improve that a little bit. They got to 15 and 19 aggregate in the league, which is better than 12 and 18. But I think it's still light for a team that doesn't have like NC State. You can lean on the RPI. If you're in the 40s in the RPI, the 15 and 19, it feels like it's still just a little short.
Yeah, the only thing that helps me with Arizona is just how well they finished.
Yep.
But then again, when we look at how the committee evaluated host sites with South Carolina, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's the whole body of work.
They did finish the season by winning a series against USC. They lost 2 out of 3 at Stanford. And then before that, they played Air Force, won 2 out of 3, and were swept at Oregon State. So really, it's just kind of like the last 2 weeks. Conference tournament in USC.
I think they're going to be a little light.
Yeah, and the other thing that, I guess they went 2 and 3 against Arizona State also, I should mention.
Yeah, I mean, blame Tulane and Charlotte. Because mean, if there were 2 more spots, we'd be having a different conversation. I think they'd be right in the mix.
Yep. Grant Janke in the comments. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Says, but Kansas State swept Oklahoma. Which all of us had this conversation. These conversations last night on our 2 a.m. call. But for the listeners, yes, I mean it's a factor. You can make a case for Kansas State over Oklahoma.
Yep,
they 15 and 13 aggregate in the Big 12. Versus Oklahoma's 12 and 15, if I have that memorized properly. The things that Oklahoma has going for it, better in the RPI, significantly better. 16 is it still 16 spots? Oklahoma's 39, Kansas State's 55, 16 spots.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, that non-conference strength of schedule, which is baked into the RPI, but the teams that they played in Oklahoma's non-conference schedule is just dramatically like their weekends. There's some things you can help, some things you can't. Like I'm sympathetic to teams that have geographic disadvantages and with their midweek games or whatever, but at least try to schedule some good weekends. And in Oklahoma, they went to the Frisco Classic. They played three teams that didn't wind up being great, but they went to Houston, which wound up having a pretty good year, and they played Stanford for 4 games. So they did some interesting things. And they split those 4 games with Stanford, by the way.
Yeah. So I've been doing this a long time. When in doubt, go with the RPI team, especially if there's a huge discrepancy in the group. I have missed teams before by taking a 50-something team because they beat a 30-something team and head-to-head and go, oh, well, that should matter. Well, the committee doesn't really matter because they're not really evaluating head-to-head. They're evaluating a whole group of teams in that bubble.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, it's NC State and Oklahoma, and everyone else has an RPI problem or a non-conference strength schedule problem or everything, other things as well.
So Jordan Guillory in the comments says Louisiana. And Jordan, I'm with you. I'm with you on Louisiana because last night we had this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I argued for Louisiana over Oklahoma. We wound up including both of them, but we had Oklahoma 1 spot higher. I lost that argument. I'm going to take it up again. Again. Cajuns, despite losing,
they had a really good week.
Game. Yep, they had a really good week, but they also had a good year. I mean, I like the thing I really like is 22-14, I guess now 22-14 aggregate in the conference.
Yeah.
And the number 5 RPI conference. I mean, that's not nothing. They did get inside the top 50 and, 7-10 against the top 50 RPI teams. I don't know what the record against the field we said is what for Louisiana, Mark?
It is 8-10.
8-10, perfectly respectable, kind of in line with. I mean, it's they played fewer games against those teams at Oklahoma and Kansas State, but 8-10 is roughly the comparable winning percentage. So I mean, like they're a few spots lower in the RPI. I mean, they're 47, Oklahoma's 39, but they went 22-14 in the number 5 conference versus going 12-15 in the number 3 conference. I like the team that fared better in conference and played better at the end of the year.
Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I just don't think the committee's going to agree with you.
Do you really think that the committee is going to go with?
I think the committee's going to take the higher RPI team.
Like I think if we're talking like around 30, maybe. But for me, it's like around 40 with that record in conference. To me, that's more like danger zone.
Well, it's certainly not a slam dunk. I mean, because we've had power conference teams. I mean, Georgia a couple of years ago, much to Scott Strickland's dismay, didn't get in with a similar resume to what Oklahoma has today. But I don't know that they took a team around the 50 mark to replace them. I do think it's. I mean, I expect Oklahoma's going to get the benefit of the doubt here.
What do you think, Kendall? I mean, because here's the other thing. A couple of things. Conference representation here. So we've got this would be the 6th. Oklahoma would be the 6th, I believe, Big 12 team versus Louisiana would be the 4th Sun Belt. Now, there's no quotas. We get that. But, I mean, I do feel like there's some respect for the Sun Belt out there. And
over a team that played for the national title last year?
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's a good counterpoint.
Sorry.
I mean, it's valid.
I speak before
recency bias is 100% real.
It's a factor.
Committees.
So, Kendall, where do you come down on this? A, who would you take between Louisiana and Oklahoma? And B, what do you think the committee will do?
I think the committee will take Oklahoma. I would rather have Kansas State in than Oklahoma.
Because they beat
I think Kansas State's a better team. 100%. They're a better team. Swept them. I think they got a lot more star power. I think they're just a better baseball team. I just don't think the committee, when you look at how RPI driven this committee already is, I don't think they're just going to switch gears when they get to that large bids. They're not going to go. They're not going to go chalk on host for the most part, other than Campbell and DBU. And then all of a sudden go, you know what? Let's just take a 55 over a 40. Like, I just don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah. If Louisiana had representation on the committee, I'd be all about it, but they don't. So I do.
Kendall, I agree with you on. I mean, I would probably take Kansas State. I would take Kansas State over Oklahoma, but I also agree that the committee will take Oklahoma over Kansas State. But my question for you was Oklahoma versus Louisiana.
I still think we're in a position where it's going to be hard for the Sun Belt to get that many bids. I really do. I think we think the three of us think it's a great league, but it's still to people who on the committee who don't follow baseball, which is probably like 90% of them. Like the Sun Belt is considered a mid-major, not a high major. What I would consider a high major.
Yeah.
So they're going to need some time, right, to I guess establish that credibility. Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I mean,
so
typically our hunch on committee things like this is, like our hunch on Indiana State is correct typically.
So you agree with me, and I believe Mark, though, that if you were putting the field together, you would go with Louisiana over Oklahoma. Is that?
I would.
Yeah. And Kendall, you would too.
And I would have Kansas State ahead of Oklahoma too.
Yes.
I would have KSU absolutely ahead of OU. Yeah. Kansas State's a better team.
But that's not what we're doing.
But that's not what we're doing. So for the listeners, before you yell at us, if you're
the field would look a lot different if the three of us were in charge.
Yes.
I say that. We'll see.
It would look different. It would look different considerably, I think. Okay. So NC State and Oklahoma then. I mean, I'm not 100% sold that the committee is going to be okay with that 12 and 15 aggregate.
Yeah.
And especially since they were I just feel like they were so up and down all year. They did kind of limp home a little bit. I mean, lost the series at home to Oklahoma State and then went 1-2 in the conference tournament.
I will say, and again, I mean, when you look at the committee, clearly they had some sympathy for South Carolina, right? With injuries and whatnot. And when you look at Oklahoma, if you look at like their record since like Dakota Harris and a couple other guys came back from injuries, the record's a lot better. And so that could be an easy selling point for them, even though I don't buy that. But
do you think the committee knows they had injuries?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've seen like a document going around that's being sent to the committee. Okay. So
what about this, guys? 31 and 26 overall. I mean, that's an eyesore, isn't it? For Oklahoma. I mean, like for me, that 31 and 26 plus 12 and 15 in the league, like,
I think you're looking too far into it. I think they're going to see the RPI and they're going to see the non-conference strength schedule. Hey, these guys tried to play good teams, and they lost some of them, but they won some of them too. And they split with Stanford, who we really like. I split 4 games with them. I think they're going to put them in.
I will say, and this is speaking as someone who I had Oklahoma as my preseason Omaha sleeper. I'm going to cast a vote here for Louisiana, and I'm fine if I'm outvoted. But I think the committee will see that 40 and 22, that 40 win mark versus going 31 and 26, and they'll see that strong record in number 5 league and the strong finish, and I think those things will outweigh arguments for Oklahoma.
I would love to be wrong, but I think they're going to go RPI.
All right, Kendall, you're the tie-breaking vote then. Oklahoma? Okay, there it is, folks. You hear how the sausage is made. It's a democracy here on the D1Baseball NerdCast. I lose. NC State 63, Oklahoma 64. We have Louisiana then as team 65, Kansas State 66, or Arizona. Probably Arizona is probably more.
Arizona would be next.
Likely, even though we like Kansas State. But
just how they're finished.
Yep. So Arizona 66, Kansas State 67, Notre Dame 68.
Yeah, it's either Notre Dame or Kent.
Yeah, Kent State.
That would be the other option. I'd probably go Notre Dame.
Kent State did wind up at 46 in the RPI after dominating their league, 24 and 6. It's just a matter of the thing that hurts them. It's just that
they have no good wins.
31 and 4 against outside the top 200.
Yeah, it's just the strength of schedule.
Yep. So those are our first 4 out then: Louisiana, Arizona, K-State, Notre Dame. Last 4 in, we have Oklahoma and NC State. We need 2 more. We mentioned Irvine as one.
That would be. Let me find it here. So the other 2 would be NC. Let's see. You said who'd you say? You said
NC State and Oklahoma.
NC State, Oklahoma.
Or
So
63, 64.
the next 2 would be Irvine and. It's kind of tough on the other one. Texas Tech, maybe, or Troy.
Troy, perhaps. I think Texas Tech's probably safer than Troy.
I mean,
yeah, I agree.
bubble shrank some.
Of course, guess who's on the committee, ladies and gentlemen? Kirby Hocutt.
Yeah.
Guess who?
Texas Tech is going to be in good shape. Then let's go, Troy.
Well, what about USC? I mean, with the 53 RPI and a 5-15 top 50.
You could say that.
And they did go.
It's Troy versus the men of Troy.
Yeah,
this last spot.
Indeed. USC did go. Let's see, 18-14 aggregate Pac-12. I mean, I feel like that's pretty good. Which one of those did you guys go with?
Sorry, I had another thought.
What do you got?
Well, you know me, like I dig into committees, right? And I was just thinking about Oklahoma, and guess who Kirby Hocutt's mentor is? Joe Castiglione. How about that one? That's just like his best friend. So just something to file away.
All right, filing it away. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about the longtime voice of the Boston Red Sox when we say Joe Castiglione. There's another one.
It's a different guy.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd probably say Troy. I don't know who or
38 RPI for Troy, 53 for USC.
Maybe it is USC.
Yeah.
You know, with the whole RPI where it is.
Yeah, I'd say
let's do that. I mean,
the RPI and the 5-15 top 50
is if you're not going to let Louisiana in, then you need to take care of Troy because it's certainly the Sun Belt is deserving of 4, but certainly deserving 3.
Yep. All right. So we've got our ladder all set. Should we go ahead and slot these teams while we're here on the show?
I think try to do that.
We can try to.
They're mostly slotted now, if what you got. So we can just kind of evaluate them and see if you like them.
Yeah. It'll be harder for people without the visual aid.
We could share.
Could we share? Should we
share the screen? Present. Let me try it. Well, let me clean it up so that
just shows
you see all our old fields.
Yeah. And let's get rid of all. Should I get rid of all the color coding?
Yeah. If you want to do that, and then
bear with us, folks. This is a seat of the pants operation.
You want to maybe make a new sheet so we don't see all our work from all through the season.
Fine idea. Here. How about that? Got it?
Yep.
Sheet 2.
Okay. I'll try to share here. Let's see what we got. Share screen. Let's see.
And Mark, I'll designate you as the one to actually move the teams around so we're not all doing this over each other.
Wow.
Can you handle that?
I don't know. It's going into all of my settings on my Mac to allow and not allow and all this good stuff. Privacy, security, all this good stuff. Maybe one of you try it.
Kendall, you're the guy.
What I'm supposed to do here.
Me share my screen?
Yeah.
See if you can get
let's
it.
not do that.
Okay.
Well, let's try it again then.
Yeah, I have too many tabs open.
Yeah. Welcome to my world, Raj.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Can you see that?
Negative.
No.
Okay, so Mark, if you click on present, hold on real quick.
It says I'm presenting, but I don't.
Okay, let me 2 seconds.
Stop.
Yeah, let me close a couple of things out here. All right. Let's see here.
So I can tell you right now, I'll just start talking to fill some time while we do this. The Winston-Salem Regional. Here we go. Look at this.
There we go.
Can we zoom
yeah,
in
let
on this
me-
puppy? Go to sheet two.
Go to sheet
Kendall.
2.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just making sure. Okay, we're good.
Sheet. There it is.
All right, there we go.
And kind of blow it up a little bit.
Where the? Hold
View.
on. No, there we go. View. Oh, there we go. Zoom. Perfect.
Look at this.
What would I do without you, Aaron?
See?
Good job.
Stick with
All right,
me,
let's do
pal.
this.
All right, Wake Forest. We had TCU in there as we at the
2.
time was one of our last 2 seeds. Was why that we sent them
Mhm.
here. Having won the Big 12 tournament, maybe we could reevaluate that. I don't know if there's another team that's slid. I mean, UConn perhaps
You could
could be
swap them
candidate.
with, UConn. Yeah, that would work.
Texas.
Or Oregon State.
Texas, West Virginia, Oregon State.
Mhm.
I mean, you could send a local team there, but I feel like Campbell and ECU are both too high in the pecking order to send to Wake.
Yeah, and they have good slots where they are now.
Yeah.
So
We could swap them with another of the Big 12 teams, perhaps Texas, send TCU to Stanford, and send Texas to Wake. How do you feel about that?
it works for me.
All right. I'll be in charge.
You want me to do it?
I'll be in charge.
You got it.
I'm the secretary.
All right.
Asterisks on this chart denote automatic
bids.
qualifiers. So, all right, Charlotte. I like that. To Wake Forest is a 3C. What did Charlotte finish in the RPI? They are
68.
7,
Something like
68.
that. Yeah.
Are there any other 3 seeds? If you look at the 3s and the 4s here,
Yeah, I did that earlier. So really what we did is I inserted Charlotte as a 3. I moved Sam Houston to a 3. They were a 4 yesterday when Tulane, came in. And Charlotte was just a new team.
right?
So and
The only
Sam,
one,
Mhm.
the only one, I think the only the 4 seed to talk about promoting potentially, and I don't think I necessarily would over Sam, but Oral Roberts with that.
Yeah.
And they still have that winning streak. They haven't lost, have they?
So
They're
they
roll-
are
Yeah,
won
so their
18
RPI
straight. They won
they're
18 straight.
76.
Yeah.
And Sam Houston's 70. So that's why I made that choice.
Right,
But
right, exactly. Which is why, I mean, that's.
mhm.
But I mean, they have won 18 in a
What
row.
do you value?
46 and 11 overall. They have a series win at Texas State. They were swept at Dallas Baptist, for what it's worth.
Okay.
So I mean, how do you guys feel like those two would stack up here, seating wise?
Who were the 2, Aaron?
Charlotte and Sam Houston and
Sam
Oral
Houston and
Roberts.
Oral Roberts.
Oh, that's a toughie. Let's see where Sam is. So Sam's 70, ORU 76.
Right.
Yeah.
Sam for me would probably rank higher.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll stick with it.
A much better league, for one. Well, I mean, I say that. I mean, let's look here.
There's Grand Canyons there.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, exactly. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Right. Who can argue with the Grand Canyon? Okay, so
And then I'm good with Central Connecticut.
yeah, that is just a flight Northeastern team to.
Is there? I mean, should Wake get one of the last 4s? Does that matter? Do you think? So I mean,
If it's not local, if
it's
there's
not
no
local.
local team to go to anywhere else, then
Right.
yeah. But if that worst
So-
team has a local draw, then you send
Right.
them there.
like George Mason to Virginia makes sense. Even though George Mason's
Yeah.
the lowest ranked 4 seed, Tulane is the next lowest. I think them to LSU makes sense.
Yeah.
Florida A&M is next. You've got them at Florida. That makes sense. Maine is next, although I think Maine's
Okay.
dangerous. But Central Connecticut's dangerous too. I mean, they had a great year,
Yeah.
so maybe we could swap those two. Send
If
Maine.
you want, yeah.
I mean, it's not a big deal, but I would swap them.
Okay.
Maine to Wake,
Cool with
Central Connecticut to Clemson. All right.
I like it.
Florida, Oregon.
Yeah, there's no natural 2 there. So
Yeah.
someone's going to have to come in from somewhere. We suck Oregon there.
What about
Wow.
what about sending Maryland to Florida and sending Oregon to LSU?
We did have LSU
cut that flight in half.
Yeah, we did have Oregon for what it's worth. We had Oregon at LSU in a regional 2 years ago. I don't know if that matters, but
LSU at Oregon. You said Oregon at LSU.
Oh, did I? Yeah, I meant the opposite.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Twitter will take it very seriously if you're wrong. So
yes,
I've heard that.
That could make some sense.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's just
that's fine. I mean, it
doesn't really matter. But I mean, to me, it's like keeping a
flight
team on the
regardless.
It's keeping a team on the Eastern Seaboard and telling a team you won the Pac-12 tournament. You don't have to fly all the way across the country. I mean, that's about as far as you can possibly fly.
It is. And look at Oregon State when they go to Miami. That's the other one.
Yeah, that's true. We've got two of those on here.
Mm-hmm.
So
we could just drop Oregon off on the way. I say that like jokingly, but I mean,
it's been done before.
Happened before. Yeah,
it has happened before.
The
other, I mean, you could,
because there's only one, West Coast host. All those Pac-12 teams, there's no Big West, there's no WCC. They got to go somewhere.
Right.
Here's what I would propose: Oregon, LSU, and Oregon State to Auburn, and send Duke to Miami to play USC.
I've got a couple of thoughts here. First off, we did Duke to Auburn.
Duke can't go to Miami because they're in the same conference.
Right. We did Duke to Auburn also because it's drivable.
Exactly.
How about this? Why not just swap? Yeah.
It's been a long week.
Yes, it has.
But who can keep up? I mean, teams change leagues. I mean,
and here's the thing: is there's only one regional west of Oklahoma, so anybody in the west, like you're
gonna fly.
It's just is what it is. You could send Oregon to Clemson, maybe, and UConn to Florida would be an option if you wanted.
That's fine.
I don't know if that's any better.
From a flight standpoint, it's not much better. Maybe
from an equity standpoint, maybe a little
minutes.
better. Has Oregon passed UConn maybe not?
No,
I would say not.
I think it's.
Yeah, I'd say leave it, man.
So I do like the Arkansas regional. So.
Yeah.
Arkansas, DBU for our listeners.
Oklahoma
and Eastern Illinois. And just to round out Florida, by the way, for the people listening and not watching later, Florida A&M we've got projected as our 4 seed there.
Yep.
Northeastern as our 3. Arkansas DBU, Oklahoma as a 3, and then Eastern Illinois is your Ohio Valley Conference automatic qualifier.
Yeah.
Liking this so far. Clemson.
Okay, this is just all flights.
Yeah.
Right? There's no local teams.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. Well,
because there's so many in the Carolina
you
area.
Could. Here's one thing you could do.
Not enough teams.
You could send UNCW to Clemson and send NC State to Coastal, and then. But you can't send Texas Tech to Stanford, so that wouldn't work. The jigsaw puzzle.
So what are we trying to do? We're trying to get one more local team, and
but it's not. Yeah, but it's not that. Probably not that big of a deal. I mean, because UNCW to Coastal makes a lot of sense.
You have 3 in Coastal, all right? You have Coastal, East Carolina, and Wilmington. You could put one of those at Clemson. To help the draw if you want.
You could. You could put an ACC 2 seed at Coastal and move East Carolina to
Clemson.
To Clemson.
Yeah.
Potentially. So like North Carolina could go, let's say hypothetically, North Carolina could go to Coastal. East Carolina could go to Clemson, and then UConn could go to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Let's do that.
All right. East Carolina goes to Clemson. The Backage Bowl, too. Storylines, #storylines. UConn to Vandy, North Carolina to Coastal.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that fits better.
Irvine is our 3, rounding out Clemson. Texas Tech is our 3. Yeah, I mean, you're in Lubbock. You're gonna have to go somewhere.
Yeah, it's a flight.
Central Connecticut is a 4. Okay. Nashville.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to change that. Yeah.
Or number 5 seed Vanderbilt. You've
Yep.
got UConn, UC Irvine, and Lipscomb. It feels pretty good.
Yeah, Lipscomb's in. It's a jog.
Yeah.
to the regional.
Maybe for you, Mr. Triathlete, marathon man over here. Baton Rouge, LSU, Maryland. Did Maryland move by winning the Big Ten tournament? Did they improve their stock enough to go to a lower 1 seed? Do we think they're 35 in the RPI now?
It's just,
Yeah, I don't know where you
maybe, but where would you even send them?
Right,
Kentucky, maybe. We can't do that. You already have
strong,
you have Xavier as a 3.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it where they are.
That's a wash.
Yep.
Yeah. I like Sam Houston as a 3 there.
Yeah.
Because where else are they going to go? There's no Texas regionals.
Mm-hmm.
So
makes sense.
Tulane is 4.
Obvious 4, unless you wanted to send Nichols there. But I think Nichols to Auburn works.
Yeah, it's one of the other. I mean,
Nichols is
Tulane
the stronger
Nichols,
team.
the other one. Yeah.
So send Nichols to the lower seed.
You could, yeah.
Nichols to Auburn makes sense to me.
Yeah,
or it could be Alabama.
We've already beaten Thatcher Hurd this year.
Tuscaloosa would be actually a little
closer, right?
With coming up from Louisiana, be about the same.
Let's do that. Let's do Nichols to Tuscaloosa, San Jose to Auburn. Because then if you're San Jose, you're flying into Atlanta. It's a short drive to Auburn.
Yeah.
Nichols is
works.
a shorter
Nichols
drive to
bus.
Tuscaloosa. Yep.
Yeah, good call.
Okay. Palo Alto or Stanford Regional, rather. You've got Stanford, TCU, NC State, and Santa Clara.
I like it.
Short trip for
that makes total sense.
Broncos. And
easy flight to the Bay Area.
Hashtag narrative Rusty Filter Bowl, former Stanford pitching coach during the Strasburg era. Now the head coach of Santa Clara. Right. Charlottesville, Virginia, West Virginia, Washington, and George Mason. Those 3 of those 4 make a lot of sense, and then you just got a back team that you got to ship somewhere. So that works. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you could consider is sending UW to OSU as a 3 and sending Iowa to Virginia as a 3.
So is Iowa, is Ames to Stillwater drivable? Pulling up Google Maps.
I don't believe so. That's a haul.
It's probably a flight, yeah.
It is 537 miles, just outside the 500. It is 500 or 400 mile threshold.
400.
It's 400. Yeah, so that's a flight regardless. You're right. So yeah, you could swap those 2 if you like. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, just again, you're kind of, if you're
shortening the trip for the West Coast.
Yeah, if you're trying to shorten trips for West Coast teams, it's easy to get from Seattle to Oklahoma City and then bus up to Stillwater.
Okay, so now for Miami, we have a problem with 2-3. We need to switch one of Oregon State or USC.
I'm getting murdered justifiably in the comments because I said Ames instead of Iowa City. I apologize.
Oh Jesus, dude!
Especially after last week when I went on record, and listen, I'm going to make it up to you guys, Iowa fans. I went on record saying Iowa State's athletic program is a joke, and I stand by it. They're a joke. Bring back baseball, losers.
Meanwhile, we're going to go to the Texas A&M regional in Austin.
Austin, yeah.
The University of Texas at College Station.
Oh my goodness! Listen, guys, we haven't had a lot of sleep this week. Can I just get that on the record here? Not a lot of sleep.
Well, at least you didn't forget that Duke was in the ACC.
Google Maps says it would take you eight days to jog from Iowa City to Stillwater. Just a short jog, Mark, for you.
I got it.
Oh,
Not bad at all.
You could be like Forrest Gump. You just kind of grow your beard out as you keep running.
Yeah, I just kept running and running.
Jenny. What do we got? Where are we? Miami?
We're in Miami.
Yeah, Miami. Yeah, we got to change a 2 or a 3.
Okay.
We should just let Cam Gorby pick which teams he wants to come to Miami.
How did this happen?
Yeah, because we switched some stuff around. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we can do this.
I mean, it's going to be a flight for anybody. So it's just who's not local, who needs a home.
Who needs a home? I guess there are no local 2 seeds, are there, to Miami?
No.
Or 3 seeds
in this field.
Here's an idea. Why not, to kind of break up the West Coast teams, why not just flip Texas and Oregon State?
So Texas, currently we have at Wake. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Send Texas to Miami because it's a flight.
Solving problems.
Yeah.
Well, I like, Texas, I like that school over in College Station.
And Texas USC would have a little bit of curb appeal.
Vince Young could throw out the first pitch. Matt Leinart can be his catcher.
Yeah. And the winner gets Miami. Yeah. I think ESPN would be okay with that.
It's the football. You got 3 college football powerhouses and then the wishbone.
Man, talk about college baseball history, though. You got the winningest, the team with the most College World Series titles, the team with the most College World Series appearances, and Miami has got 4 national titles. Like, that's just, I like that. Beavers to Wake is that, it's not too strong of a 2. I think it's okay.
Nah,
it's kind of a middle of the pack 2.
Not when you have a a stolen biddage with 3.
Fair enough. All right.
Although I will say real quick, Charlotte and Oregon State would be a sneaky good opening round matchup.
Yeah.
Charlotte's not bad.
Army, by the way, is our 4 seed in Coral Gables. It could cause some problems. They're a lot of wins these last 4 years. On to Conway, we've got Coastal, we've got North Carolina now as our 2 seed. Breaking up the dream that was being discussed in the press box of the Dirty Myrtle Regional with Coastal, ECU, and NC State. That would have been fun. But instead, we've got North Carolina as the 2, Wilmington as the 3, Rider as the 4.
Yep.
I'm just glad the Tar Heels get to play the flagship university. I don't even get Aaron, or I don't even get a response from Aaron on this.
I don't know what you're trying to say here. On to Tuscaloosa, we've got Alabama, Southern Miss, Samford, and Nichols. I like that.
And they all bus.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oklahoma State, Stillwater, Oklahoma State, A&M, Washington, and Oral Roberts.
Yeah, that works for me.
Lexington, we've got Kentucky, Boston College, Xavier, and Wright State. That works.
It's kind of sneaky tough, too.
Yeah, I like that. Auburn, Duke, Troy, San Jose State also. I mean, these are good balance. They should let us do this. Have we ever said that? They should let us do this.
We're so much better than these guys.
These are good regionals.
Yeah, I'm talking to you, John. I'm just kidding. John's throwing his clipboard right now. My
he's pissed. He's going to get ejected.
One of the best jokes ever, by the way.
Yeah. South Carolina, Campbell's a 2, so we just flip-flop those 2 because we had Campbell hosting South Carolina this morning. South Carolina will host the Camels. Right. Fullerton is your 3.
I kind of would like to start tougher 3. Like, I kind of feel like South Carolina is going to host, but they're going to get a really tough regional. That's just my hunch. I don't know.
So you think give them a tougher 3?
I'd give them a tougher 3, yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
So who's a tougher 3? Like,
I have an idea.
NC State.
I would send.
No, that's drivable.
I would send Texas Tech to South Carolina and send Fullerton to Clemson.
Ooh, I like
that.
Clemson.
I was thinking send Fullerton to Stanford and Texas and NC State to South Carolina.
Point. That makes more sense geographically. How do we miss that? NC State is a 3, and then Fullerton to Stanford.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Drivable, and then Texas Tech stays at Clemson. That actually does make sense, Mark. Great job.
Look at us.
Look at the Nerd Master General.
Everybody gets lucky.
This is why Mark gets paid the big bucks.
That's right.
Yeah. Both of
NMG.
them.
Got that NMG money. Both of them. South Carolina, Campbell, NC State, Penn. That's pretty good.
I like that a lot. I hope they do that. That'd be a good regional. And then I love this last one.
Yeah, Indiana State, Tennessee, Indiana, and Ball State. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, sign me up for that.
Yep. All right.
Like it.
Good work.
So, do we want to make any? Just give it a once over. Anything we need to tweak?
Wake, Oregon State, Charlotte, Maine, Florida.
Hey, if anyone watching the show right now sees any mistakes, any team in the same conference in a regional, like now's the time. Speak up or whoever hold your peace.
It reminds me
or else it's your fault.
That's right. I'll blame you guys.
It reminds me that year that the committee didn't realize they didn't have a team in the field. Was it 5 or 6 years ago? And they're like, crap, we didn't put them in.
They sent two SoCon, was it SoCon teams to the same regional? And then it was up on the board, and then they had to switch it.
That's right.
Oops. Quality control wasn't strong that year.
Not great, Bob.
Quality control. Call your QC specialist.
I think that's it, guys. Well done.
This has been fun.
Yeah, that was good.
Just general thoughts. I mean, we kind of aim towards this day, right? And look tomorrow all year long, and especially once we have some games we can actually evaluate. So it's almost like Christmas morning for us, and for a lot of you too. It's a huge day. It's a day that we cherish, and we can't wait to understand what happens and find out where the actual fields are. If they're as good as this one or not, we'll find out. But I do think that it's such a big part of our sport is the hope and the longing for this opportunity that we're going to get, and a lot of these teams are going to get. To find out tomorrow if they're getting in or not. So awesome part of this journey. I'm so thankful to be part of D1, that we can do this all year and be part of with this great team with so much depth and so much talent that we can make this a fun gig. So it's been a good week. And
dang, Mark, you're gonna make me cry, man.
Mark,
I know
can I just go ahead? Hey, by the way,
jump in.
I've already like prop Mark up so much, but I'm gonna prop Mark up again. So earlier this week, Mark got on the SEC Network set, and they just started peppering him with questions. Hey, this RPI, what does history suggest about this and this and this? And I just want to say, I give a grade on bar fight meters. Like, hey, you're an 80 bar fight meter. Like, this dude did a legitimate 75 to 80 analysis, and that's not easy to do. So great job, Mark.
Yeah, appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
He's very good.
They asked good questions, and the big part of this is you hope they ask things that and they did.
Yeah.
So that was great. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Hopefully we can continue that partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess my last thought going into tomorrow, I think the biggest thing for me is Oklahoma versus Kansas State. I'm kind of fascinated how they, who they pick, and B, what their explanation is for one of those teams over the other. If it's Kansas State, go ahead.
Or they pick neither.
Or neither.
Louisiana. I'm on record. I think Louisiana gets in over either. But I see a question you're asking: why Irvine and OU over K-State? We did address this at some length in the first 20 minutes or so of the show. So after this live cast is over, I urge you to go back and listen. I think all three of us actually have Kansas State ahead of Oklahoma on our personal pecking orders, but this is a projection. What we think the committee is going to do. We think the committee is going to fall back on RPI.
Yeah, exactly. I had a Twitter person go after me earlier and cussed at me, thinking that because I said something about South Carolina. I understand why South Carolina got a host. Well, you just love the SEC. So just remember, we are projecting what we think the committee will do based on historical precedent. It's not necessarily what we would do.
Yeah, and as Mark said earlier, if we were the ones who are actually building the field based on what we think should happen, it would look considerably different.
But and that's a great point, and I think it's important to point out that I don't think you really care what we would do. You would rather know what the committee is going to do, and based on all of our experience, heck, between the three of us, we've been doing this 2,000 years. So
Yeah.
I think we have a pretty good idea of how this is going to come out. We don't always get it right, but we're pretty close.
We're probably about around 60 combined years of doing this
Yeah.
at this point. I mean, it's Mark, you yourself. My God, I don't want to think about it.
Let's don't add that up.
You don't want to age you. All right, guys, this was so much fun, Mark. Listen, the poetic comments at the end of the show. Oh boy, you got me there, Marcus. You're the best. Thanks
That
for
was
everything
good,
you
man.
do
This
for
is
us.
teary-eyed.
It's been an awesome year. Can't wait
It
for the
has been a good year.
postseason. But I mean, the journey along the way is such a fun part of this thing, and doing these projections, doing the Nerdcast. Thanks to all of our listeners, our viewers, for the support of the Nerdcast. It always blows my mind how much people enjoy us nerd out and talk about records versus tiers and all this stuff. Like, it amazes me. But the passion for the sport, it's wonderful. And thank you all for listening. And it's been a great year. We'll have a reaction pod tomorrow. Shortly after the field is announced. I don't know if we're going to try to, it'll be probably in that early afternoon range. We'll nail it down. We'll tweet it out. So we'll talk then. I'm sure I'll be fired up because I usually am.
Pretty good odds.
Yeah, pretty good odds.
Aaron always does his Howard Dean thing on selection day.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it now and burn out everybody's
going to pound on the desk.
We're going to Wyoming.
Exactly.
All right.
That'll do it, everybody. Thanks again. Happy Christmas Eve. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Be good, guys.